Hi, everyone. My name is Leah,
And my name is Kayla.
and we're your hosts of Champions of Discourse Debate This.
We are excited to present you with some interesting and sometimes divisive topics to help build your skills as a critical thinker.
But what is a critical thinker? According to Oxford Languages, a critical thinker is someone who pursues the objective analysis and evaluation of an issue in order to form a judgment. Simply put, as a person who consumes information, they analyze the source, the content, and medium, which is the vehicle, used to deliver the message. Why is this important? Today, there are so many ways to consume information, which means we have things like news outlets, bloggers, influencers, and the lady on the stoop all rushing to be right instead of taking the time to collect and decipher the information so that they're right. It is up to us as consumers to be analytical in our thinking and not passive in accepting whatever shows up on our timelines.
We also want to expose people who may not have access to the grand world of debate.
We want to help you spot things like false equivalencies, half truths, moot points, and the infamous whataboutisms through this structured style of debate.
It's very similar to what you might hear when you're with your friends, at a family event, or even in your living room. As stated previously, it's a structured debate, which means there are roles for each party, speech times and topics, and a clear winner chosen at the end. There's also a qualifier used to weigh arguments called criteria or values that each side tries to uphold with their argument.
This style of debate most resembles collegiate parliamentary debate, which means this style is meant for the layperson. There are many other styles of debate, but this one is so that anyone at any time can come into any round and should have a clear understanding of what the resolution or topic is and the arguments made on each side. But look at me getting ahead of myself. Let's start with the basic outline and work our way from there, shall we?
First, each video is considered a debate round. The rounds will consist of three parties: the government, the opposition, and the judge. In the rounds, you will hear the adjudicator and judge being used interchangeably, as well as topic and resolution. Each side will speak for about 13 minutes, broken up into 2 or 3 speeches. The first speech is a constructive speech where arguments are laid out by each side. The final speech will be the rebuttals, where the debaters will refute any arguments made, as well as give their reasoning to the judge as to why they would win that round.
How long would it take you to come up with a 7 minute speech about why you would be right about a topic or to affirm or negate a resolution? These debaters have 15 minutes to create a case with no access to research. But again, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's take a step back. There is about 25 minutes of talk time in each round, but how do the debaters and judge keep track of the arguments made? I'm glad you asked. Each party takes notes called flowing. The flow is where the judge can look to make the decision on who won. It is also used by each of the debaters to keep track of the arguments.
In each round, the judge will provide a topic for the debaters to argue for or against. The topic selected is also called a resolution. It is up to the judge to set aside bias and listen to the arguments stated in the round to make a decision. Now, every judge is different, but the best judges can set aside their bias and listen to the round.
The second party in the round is the reason why we're here, the government. This party affirms or proves the resolution to be true. It is their job to use their 15 minutes of preparation, again, with no research, to create arguments that would uphold the resolution. Their arguments altogether is called a case or on case. You may hear that during the rounds. Just be sure you recognize which case the debaters are referring to when they mention where their arguments are going. The third party in this round is the opposition. The opposition essentially is against the resolution. However, they can attack the resolution from any direction. They can have a case that solves the resolution better than the government, proves the resolution to be false, or says that the government themselves are doing more harm than good by affirming the resolution. In a later video, we will get more into the details about the types of arguments each side can have. In addition to thought provoking and sometimes divisive arguments, that will take place during this season, we have two dynamic debaters. First, Dr. Jeanelle Hope. She is an assistant professor of comparative race and ethnic studies at Texas Christian University and a native of Oakland, California. She received her PhD from the University of California, Davis, and is a scholar of Black art, culture, and social movements. Jeanelle is currently developing a book manuscript on Afro-Asian solidarity in the post-civil rights era that explores how Afro-Asian solidarity manifests through grassroots organizing, art and cultural production, and digital activism from the late 1960s to the era of hashtag Black Lives Matter.
And Leah Johnson, who is the owner of Champions of Discourse. Her passion for public speaking and debate was developed over the 10 years she competed in and also coached collegiate speech and debate. Her goal is to help people think critically and advocate for themselves in social situations. Her education and professional background is in education and finance.
Hold on. For now, let's look to an example.
This house should get a roommate. Now remember, we have to use definitions and criteria to set up a case so that each side has a clear ground. Depending on how we choose to define the wording in the resolution, we can make this about anything. This house can be a person, it could be an office, it could be a country, or even an animal.
However, let's take a more practical approach to it. The government may define this house as a single person between the ages of 25 and 34 who live on their own. Should can be defined as a course of action that is deemed correct, such as a duty. Get a roommate can be taken straight up or as written as acquiring a suitable human being to share their dwelling and bills. The criteria used for this round, also a weighing mechanism, could be net benefits, meaning what is to be good for the people as a whole. Since the key word here is should, there is a value that has to be upheld. The value can be anything from security to education to anything else you hold as dear and valuable. In this instance, we'll say the value is quality of life. Whatever we argue in this round is going to be important that we state how this is going to improve the quality of life of this house. What are some arguments you think you may hear based on the resolution? This house should get a roommate.
Well, as adults, most of us have probably had or considered whether or not we should get a roommate. Sometimes it is to save money, because we're lonely, or even to help out a friend or family member. Either way, we have to weigh the pros and cons of sharing our space with another person before coming to a solid conclusion. Let's start with the status quo, or what is happening right now. We got bills on top of bills on top of bills. Rent, electricity, gas, water. Need I go on? With the increase in cost of living and stagnant wages, there's no better way to get ahead financially than to have a roommate. The bills will be cut in half, increasing your savings by at least 25%, while giving you the extra funds needed to pay off debts. Increased savings and decreased debt helps to alleviate the fear of living below the poverty line and increases the person's quality of life when they don't have to choose between groceries, rent, and car insurance. Now that's a pretty solid argument.
Now, how would you argue against it? I mean, from the obvious, let's really understand what are some ways we can pick apart this argument. Let's just start here. Roommates are trash. They stress you out. They steal your food. They never have their half of the rent. They always want to get a dog. They brush your teeth in the shower. It ruins your sanity. This person will be stressed out getting a roommate. It is much better to live within your means than to have to depend on some stranger for some sort of financial independence. It is much better to have this person stay at home with their family before getting out in the world and slumming it in the hopes that freedom from the cycle will fall from the sky. This person should get a budget, be in a job for at least a solid 6 months, then get a place within their means before they even leave their parents' home. Problem solved. Now, regardless of how you feel about it personally, Which side do you think had the better argument based on the qualifiers and values? Which argument upholds the quality of life, and which argument leans a little bit more on net benefits? And that's pretty much all there is to it.
Be sure to tune in next Thursday. It will be the start of Season 1, Champions of Discourse presents Debate This.
Again, that is Thursday, August 20th, 2020. We will have the first season of Champions of Discourse presents Debate This.
Tell a friend, and of course, do all the YouTube things. Like, share, and subscribe. See you next Thursday.
See you then. Bye.
Bye.